It was. Yeah.
Probably for the better.
Yeah.
The old days, you probably had the new car, but we just didn't know.
They did, but nobody was promoting it as a. Yeah, I read that in the Tennessee paper. A whole big article about that.
All right, it's 6 p.m. We'll go ahead and get the meeting started. Flag salute and invocation by William Downing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Almighty Heavenly Father, we approach your sovereign throne with hearts of humility. Father, we pray for our community of Fort Scott. We pray your providential hand on our community that we might be united in all things. We pray that you'll heal the divide, not just in our community, but in our country as a whole. Father, as we meet tonight to conduct the business of our community, we pray that all will conduct themselves in a way that would be pleasing to you according to your word. And we ask that you would bless this meeting. We ask that you would help this community to prosper. Father, we're mindful of our first responders. We pray that you'll place a hedge of protection around them and see them safely home after each shift. And we're especially mindful, Father, of our service members who are either deployed or stationed abroad, particularly this time of year, Father, when many families are separated by duty. We pray that you'll be with each, that you'll see them safely home, physically and emotionally. And we pray that you'll comfort the families who are here holding down the homestead in their absence. We pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Amen.
All right.
That was for Kevin.
All right, we got. Yeah. All right, we got recognitions, and we got certificates up here. And if you want to come up and get your picture with Mark McCoy for 5 years with the water treatment plant, Todd Bond. Jerry Morgan, 5 years, street department. Jerry's here. Alex Sheldon with the wastewater treatment plant. Is Alex here? Let's see. And then Stanley Keene, who's not here, 10 years with the water distribution. And then 15 years, Tim Harper with the Fort Scott Police Department. And Tim, you were in law before here, weren't you? How long have you been in law enforcement? 31 years. 31 years, yeah. Thank you. And then a man that sits through all these long meetings, Travis Shelton, 25 years, but he said it feels like 60.
Vaseline bandit, we have it.
All right, up next, the consent agenda. Any questions on that? If no questions, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I didn't have a chance to make it in earlier, Mark, and I apologize for that because we usually have a little chance to ask each other questions, or me ask questions, you answer. A couple things I wrote down was on the, and I'm sure there's a story, the Katrina Burke with maintenance agreement. What is that? The $10,000.
So annually, we are required. Our ambulance service is required to have a medical relationship, and so she is the doctor for our ambulance service. Yes, so that's what that's for. That's an annual fee for her services.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. The phone bills. I'm sure you're probably still working on them.
Yes, I am, and we were going through those today. I'm still very concerned at how high they are. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm marking down. I'm just pulling random numbers out from $430 to down to $80, and I just don't feel like it should be something's awry there, and I'm anxious to get to the bottom of that because that's a good place to save money again for the citizens of Fort Scott. There's another place, and this is small, but I think it's something we could look into is power specialty. No, that was a different one. Vehicle maintenance. We can talk about that one later. I didn't know what two gas valves, oxygen. We can look at that.
Didn't ask that. We'll get together.
Yeah, yeah. There was another one where we rented some propane bottles, and I believe that may be at the park or something like that. And I think we could probably purchase our own propane storage receptacles. We'll get together on it.
Oh, I know what you mean. So each one of those shelters has a heater.
Mhm.
It's propane filled.
Right.
So you're saying fill it ourselves?
Well, no. If you live in a house in the country, a lot of times you buy your own propane tank rather than rent the
Yes,
tanks.
yeah.
So we could look into purchasing a couple of propane
Okay.
tanks. Even
Yep.
used propane tanks are good. They sell them all the time, and that'll cut. It's only $80 or whatever it was, but every little bit helps.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. Thank you.
Yep.
Josh, do you have a second? Is there a second?
No.
Second. A second Lindsay's motion.
Randy Nichols?
Yes.
Lindsay Watts?
Yes.
Pete Allen?
No.
Kevin Allen?
Yes.
Josh Jones?
Yes. All right, up next, public comments. First, Sarah.
Thank you guys for, listening to me again this time around. So, I'm kind of new at this, so I'm just gonna apologize in advance. But is it okay if I give out a little?
Sure. Here you go.
I'll do my best to make this short and sweet, because I know, you guys' time is very valuable. And, I'll come back again to touch base on round 3 on this. Hopefully I don't have to.
Is there enough? You got one?
Could you move the mic closer to you so
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think she's
think
getting
he
ready
can hear
to.
you?
I think she's getting ready to.
There you go.
Better?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, so again, I'll make this short and sweet. I know your guys' time is very valuable, but I'll do this in sections. So, there's this psychologist named Maslow, excuse me, who came up with a hierarchy of needs. He studied just the human psyche, and he came up with this hierarchy of needs. And I'm giving you the watered down Cliff Note version of this. And this is in to address the city ordinance that was passed on the October 19th meeting. You had the city council, with the exception of Mr. Allen here. So it's legal depositing feces or urine, be it animal or human, being noticeably intoxicated due to excessive drug or alcohol use, making living accommodations or preparations to sleep, sleeping, erecting a tent, or storing belongings, among other activities. Yelling, shouting, or screaming in a manner that causes members of the public harm or concern, loud or disruptive noises, and
last but not least, beg or solicit money for food. So I have a problem with C and F. C is the making living accommodations, and F is asking for food or money. Let's just pretend the money is not there. I don't care about that. I care about the food. And so the psychologist on the very basic needs, he says humans need food, water, warmth, and rest. He came up with this theory, and it's been proven since then, that in order for us to move up higher in that hierarchy of needs, we need that baseline food, water, warmth, and rest. Now, I understand it's not pretty, okay, but she needs to make shelter for herself. She's got to go somewhere to go, okay? It has been made illegal anywhere that is public in the city of Fort Scott. So there's that. And then asking for food. She's got to be fed. I mean, and if we want to get into it, Halloween, we had all kinds of kids here asking for food, and we're perfectly okay with that. So I just ask you to ponder on that. It's a basic human need. She needs shelter. She needs food and water. I mean, not she, but everybody does. I mean, you need it. I need it. We all need it. And the cops have discretion. I put that in parentheses to enforce that. But the city made it illegal, or made an ordinance making it unlawful to ask for help. That's all I got.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming up again. I'm sorry I haven't got with you yet. But I agree with you on some of those comments. And I think basically in everyone's defense, they wanted to give ourselves a little bit of a stronghold in order to, in case there was situations they were placed in, such as the police officers, to where they said, hey, we got something to stand on here.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Sarah, myself, and Travis and Mark met the other day, and I think Sarah kind of.
Well, my thing is, unless they plan on throwing the homeless in jail, which solves nothing.
Right.
Okay, we're just not going to go there. Which solves nothing. It doesn't take a law for the police to ask people to move. Okay, and we can come up with a compromise. And I've been working with other entities in the city, within the city, not city officials, but other concerned residents of the city. I'd like to report something special, but until we get everything set in stone and ready to go, I'll be more than happy to share with you what we're doing in the background. I think you guys are gonna be happy. But in the meantime, I don't want our homeless ending up in jail.
Right, but I was going to say in their defense also, in saying that I went and ate downtown the other day, and I seen where she had, when we talk about where someone,
Diane.
yeah,
Yeah,
had
that's her name.
made the tarps and everything right there on Scuba's Plaza on the flower bed, and I thought that I can see where that would become, we're trying to portray the town as a nice little place, and then you see that and you're thinking,
Well, yeah, but is there any way we can make a compromise?
Well,
Is
that's
there
what I'm
somewhere
saying.
else
Sure.
she can, go? I'm trying to work with something with her sister. We've all
Yeah, we talked about that, and I think we talked about the place where you're staying at has a spot for homeless people. And I think over the last 2 weeks, when the ordinance put in place, there was discretion used, and the police have not. That's what I was trying to tell you before. This is not,
Well,
and so she's still down there, and the police aren't going, and
I understand that, but it doesn't take an ordinance to ask someone to move. And if we're not going to abide by the ordinance, then what's the point? Anyways.
Well, I will say it gives the police. We have directors here. We have to take their recommendations, and so when the director of police comes to you and say, "Hey, I need this to be able to do this, this, and this," he's been doing this. We just recognize him for 25 years here, and so for us to say, "Hey, I don't think you need that to do your job," that's why we have directors. We need to use them and use their recommendations.
I understand they need help with
Right.
doing their job, but just because everybody jumped off a cliff doesn't mean it's right. So that's my
Right,
opinion.
right.
Take it or leave it.
Yep.
But thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
thank you.
And I said I'd be back next time. So
Good.
thanks.
you.
We appreciate it.
All right, Michael Hoyt.
Good evening. I have just a mechanical, I guess I'd call it a mechanical issue to bring up. And I only have one copy, but I want to read from it first and then I'll pass it around. On October 21st of this month, I put in a Quora request, and the first item was the ordinance or resolution in effect to establish purchasing authorization limits of the city manager and the finance director. One thing I want you to notice as I pass this around, I received a number of pages. At 20 cents a copy, I was charged $8.50. Use your calculator. How do I come up with that? How do you come up with $8.50 at 20 cents a copy? Take a look at that. In response to that, I got 16 pages of minutes from the July 7th meeting, 2020. Not a single resolution, not a single ordinance is mentioned in this 16 pages. Interestingly enough, there are 4.5 pages of my citizens' comments unrelated to the topic, but I thought that's kind of funny. 16 pages. So I paid for 16 pages, not an ordinance or a resolution included. Does that raise any suspicions with anyone? Do we have an ordinance or a resolution that sets the limit, purchasing authorization limit for the city manager? Or this was my second request. The first request I got said, until the governor rescinds her executive order. No mention of what number of an executive order. Could have been any executive order. The other pages were very relevant. I got bills from CDL, where CDL had fixed our traffic lights on 69, and I think Mark and Pete and I think Josh was there with KDOT this week. We got the real understanding of what that's all about. So I won't even go into those. But I want you to see the 16 pages. As verification, there was not an ordinance or a resolution included.
Well, Michael, would that be $3.20 at 20 cents a page?
Credit my account.
And how did we come up with $8.50?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
That's, my calculator doesn't.
That's
I
your-
must have
that's
got a
your-
half a page somewhere.
That's your question.
I think you're billed for,
The total of all the copies, I thought.
yeah, well, and do we bill just for copies or for time also? Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you have
Yeah.
to specify that on the sheet. It says $8.50 charges. Doesn't say that there was time.
Right, it doesn't say copies, correct?
That just doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't even give the number of copies.
Correct.
But at 20 cents a copy, $8.50 does not divide evenly.
Okay, so
I want to address that. Didn't we back at that time? When that was asked for, did we not say no? That we're not going to do that? Wasn't that an emergency declaration or something that?
I believe so at that time. So if I'm correct in saying, hold on just a second. I remember before we had a spending limit. The city manager, is that what we're talking about? The spending limits? The city manager could spend $5,000, and the department heads, what would have been the department heads were able to spend?
Yeah, at
at that
2,500,
point?
yeah, it's just, yeah.
What was it?
Can I clarify just
Yeah,
real quick?
please.
No, I'd rather hear from the commission. Please.
No,
Well, here's the
I
deal,
don't.
I understand, but you're not in control of the meeting,
No,
so.
I guess I am in my 5 minutes.
All right, so if you want.
So,
this-
so
we will not-
Mr. Mayor,
I'll be done.
point of order.
Yeah.
He has 5 minutes to give his presentation. We're not required to address that
Right.
or to move
That's-
forward
that's what
any
I was gonna say.
action
We
on
don't
this
have
topic.
Exactly right, and I don't really feel that Ms. Bancroft has anything relevant to add to this conversation because she's avoided and obviously input to Ms. Clay how to respond to my request for a authorization or an ordinance and a resolution stating exactly how it should be spelled out as to spending limits for the city manager and the finance director. Period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Right. Well, I'm going to
Kevin,
finish saying.
I just want to say, if he don't want to hear from the whole staff, I just ask commissioners not respond to him, just to be, just to hold it. There's no getting part and then going on. So,
May
and
I
Dare,
respond for clarification?
well, no, I would
Okay.
just rather not. And Dare. Thanks, Sam.
I have a question. Mayor, can I ask a question for this clarification for me? Because I am lost with the whole entire point of what was brought up, and I want to make sure that we're not doing anything incorrectly. It's my understanding that we have a purchasing policy,
Correct.
And that was passed at the beginning of the year.
It's a policy, not an ordinance or a resolution.
Correct. Okay, that was my understanding. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
He requested
The ordinance or a resolution.
Yes.
And what was it that we did pass as a commission whenever we went into the
that was
under
for-
COVID?
That was just an emergency declaration, and after the COVID was lifted, that goes away.
Right.
And I don't think it was even passed. Anyway, it had to come back. That wasn't even passed.
Right, because we said that we could meet at any
Yeah.
point in time within
That's
an
correct.
hour or two notice. Okay, I just
Go
wanted to
ahead.
clarify.
Go
my
ahead,
memory
Kevin.
on that.
Since you go ahead and talk and go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I appreciate that. All right, nothing on old businesses. Appearances, Tony Donahue. I don't see Tony. I don't see her. Melissa Guns, Christmas in the Park.
Y'all feeling the Christmas spirit yet?
It's cold.
Ho, ho, ho.
So let's see if we can bring some Christmas cheer to Fort Scott. I'm sure y'all know Christmas in the Park has gone on for several years. I'm new to Fort Scott, so I'm kind of on a learning curve with everything, finding out a lot of information as we go along. I was wrangled into this by my husband, Doug, who is the Parks Director for the city. We have...
Thank you for that.
We have some really great things planned for Christmas in the Park this year. We've really gotten the schools involved. We have the welding department at the high school who's going to be creating some displays, lighting displays for us, as well as, it's the welding department at the community college and the industrial arts program at the high school that are going to be creating several displays for us this year. We also have a community showcase planned. We have the jazz band, the choir, and the third one, the orchestra, that are all going to be doing a community showcase for us on December 11th and the evening at that event night on the 11th. We also have the police department and the EMTs that are going to do their chili feed. And we have some other really, really great things planned. I'm not going to give it all away today. But we do have 2 event nights. So this year's going to look a little different. We are planning an event night on December 11th and an event night on December 18th. So on the 18th, we will have a band that's been working on a Christmas set for us. That's Bourbon County Revival. Shout out to them. Thank you very much. So they'll be performing that evening for entertainment. And we're also going to have some food trucks that night as well. We're hoping we get enough vendors that we can have Christmas shops both nights for local artisan shopping in the park. And it's all going to be lit up. So with that in mind, we have a few things that we need the commission to approve for us to help make this happen. So the first one is we would like to see if it would be possible for the city to approve to donate shelter houses 1 through 5 for us to Christmas in the Park on event nights. Now there is one shelter house that is already booked on the 11th, and of course we expect the city to fulfill their promise on that since it's already booked. But we would ask that the other shelter houses not be rented out on those event nights on the 11th and on the 18th. The other request when it comes to the shelter houses would be shelter houses 2 and 3. Also not be rented out on the 10th or the 17th because there's the groups that are going to be in there are going to do interior decorating for Christmas as well as the businesses that are doing the exterior decorations on each shelter house. So that's the first request.
Did you say 2 and 5?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Thank you.
This second request would be that on those event nights on December 11th and December 18th, that the park be closed to through traffic. We're going to have buses that come in an upper loop that bus people in, and then we're going to have the trolley, thank you, to the chamber. Huh? Yes, the chamber. That's why I was pointing this way. Thank you, the chamber, for that. So we'll have trolley and hayrack rides that will take people down from the bus stop in the park down to where the events are occurring. So we want to try and limit traffic. We don't want anybody to get run over. The other request, and that would be from 5 to 9 p.m. on December 11th and 18th. I've already spoken with the chief and asked, I would like to request increased patrols through the park. From December 6th through January 1st, as the lights display will be turned on every night from 5 to 9 p.m. for drive-throughs for the park. So if you can't make it to one of the event nights, but you're out wanting to look at Christmas lights, you can drive down through the park and enjoy the lights displays during that time. I know Doug is working on getting cameras. He's been working on getting the cameras for the shelter houses. I think they're stuck on a container ship out in the ocean right now. So hopefully those can get done in time. But the other request, the last request, I know there's 4. It seems like a lot. I'm so sorry. But the last request is that the gates be locked at night to deter people from being able to drive down into the park from December 6th through January 2nd. And the reason we're asking for January 6th is because earlier in that week, we're going to be bringing in displays and starting to get things set up once we have our final, our electrical plan in place for how things are going to be connected and where they're going to go.
I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. This is exciting. I like the changes. I think that this will be good. I think cameras would be great because I know that that's been a very large problem in the past, but I think locking the doors in the evenings is a good idea.
And Buck Run is
And
still
help.
also going to do, I didn't mention Buck Run Community Center is also going to do decorating cookies and kids crafts and things. So the idea wasn't to undo or change everything that's already been established. It's to keep everything that's already going and expand it and make it something that becomes an area-wide tradition of, oh, let's go to Fort Scott and see the lights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we need a motion, or can we just ask you to do that, Mark? Or did you make
I would make the motion to accept all of the requests listed.
I'd second that.
Kevin Allen,
Yes.
Pete Allen,
Yes.
Randy Nichols.
Yes.
Lindsay Watts.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Hey, Melissa, thanks. We're glad you guys are down.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you,
so
Lisa.
glad to be here.
All right. New business. Oh, Rob is not here, so we'll skip that one. New business consideration to accept T-Mobile Grant.
I reached out to the T-Mobile representative and asked her if we could reconsider maybe our project scope and area. And she says as long as it stays within the same type of, that we could change where it's located. So if we wanted to go ahead and do something down on Scubitz Plaza, Mark and I have been talking about getting together a committee to be sure to have all the stakeholders involved. So like the National Historic Site, as well as Farmers Market, and really just kind of have a conversation about that and what we could potentially do with those funds to still honor what we had proposed. So, I would just ask that we go ahead and accept the grant and get these stakeholders together and have something in plan by maybe the first of the year after we've visited with all the people.
Then I'd ask, of course, Rob, and then get
Mhm.
maybe
Yes.
Jody as well.
Yes,
So,
definitely Jody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would this require us to fund the other $53,000?
I think we can change our scope, and our hope is to maybe get with HBCAT to maybe get another grant to kind of help support it as well. As long as it's promoting the, it was really the first phase of helping farmers market get something, a covering over them, but also have something for long term for other events. So I think that was what the scope was originally intended to do.
Which I think that 50,000 would go dollar grant would go to a little bit further use go a little bit further to creating that in Scubitz Plaza, probably
Rather
just
than
because
over
of
there in the green space. Yeah.
We drove around there a little bit and just kind of like, I think that it would probably go a little bit further.
Yep.
With what we already have in place.
So that's all I'm asking is that we approve the grant, and so we can sign it, and then we'll come back to you with after we've kind of spoken with them and make sure that we're still on track with them. And but they really didn't really care where it was located, other than it's in the downtown area and it's promoting that downtown growth. So
make the motion to accept the T-Mobile grant.
Second.
Lindsey Watts,
Yes.
Randy Nichols.
Yes.
Pete Allen,
Yes.
Kevin Allen.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes. All right. Interim city manager comments, Mr. McCoy.
Mr. Mayor, were we gonna go back up to number 7 and complete those things first?
We did that all under the consent agenda.
I had a phone conversation today with Don George. He's the area person in charge of lakes and streams and rivers and all kinds of things that pertain to our wildlife. And tomorrow, Don will be releasing catfish into our ponds. So that will be including Gun Park, both ponds. In addition to that, the pond at Fort Scott Community College and also Lake Fort Scott. He wanted to let us know that since 1987, this has been an ongoing and perennial thing that they do. It is a huge benefit to the community, to Bourbon County, and the city of Fort Scott. Tomorrow, Jackson and myself will be there between 8:30 and 9. They anticipate emptying the pond, the harvesting pond, which is on the road of 195th. They say that thousands of catfish will be harvested. There will be multiple trucks there, and they will place them then into the different ponds. It's a very fascinating thing to see. They asked me if I would please invite any of the commissioners that wish to be out there, no more than 2, unless you stand apart. But he thinks it would be very exciting if you would take the opportunity to go out there and to see how it goes. So he has asked for that, and he's excited to have that opportunity come before you. The second thing I wanted to talk about was ethics and civility class. So we received a notification from the state of Kansas that with local elections next week, we are offering a virtual ethics and civility, MIT, on December 9th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. While any city official can take our class, we have planned this webinar to be specifically supportive of newly elected officials taking office, as well as current city officials. So between November 21 and January 22, those elected, we will offer some guidance to local elected officials on running successful meetings, working with other elected officials, and dealing with civil discourse. This would also be a good opportunity to get your newly elected officials familiar with the league and how we can help them be successful in their role as a local elected official. Class will cover the following topics: conflict of interest laws and regulations, rules regarding use of public funds and property, simple ethic codes, appropriate interaction with vendors, practice in ethical behavior, conflict resolution, and smart meeting processes. There's a small fee for this, and the cost to attend the course is $50 for members. Are we members?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so then it's $50 for members, and our city will be invoiced. So there's information down here, and I can get this to each of you on how to sign up for this on Zoom. So again, 6 to 9 p.m. on December 9th.
Mark, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
It's kind of, I guess, to both of you. Is this similar to the training that we took whenever we took office, and it is required? It's not? I thought they said at that point. It was just strongly encouraged. Okay. Thank you.
Highway 69, as you know, was signed by this commission recently. And what that is that's a project that's going to be relighting at 3rd Street, 6th Street, 12th Street, and 25th Street. They're also going to be putting in turn signals at 3rd Street and 12th Street. They may be adding a turn lane. Now, what they're saying is right turn signals on those two locations, 3rd and 12th Street. We had a meeting with KDOT just this Monday. I thought it was a very good meeting. It was held by Mr. Wayne Gunmanson, who's the district supervisor for projects, and also the area manager. Don't remember his name, but he was out of Iola. Troy? Yeah, thank you. So we are working with KDOT to assist us in both of that process, and over also on Highway 54 to look at some issues that are approximately half a mile east of 69 Highway on 54, where the road is, the term is buckling. Thank you. In the center of the road. And we believe that's from excessive use from very large trucks. So let me think here. Other than that, if you were not aware, there has been a change to our staff. Our public works director is no longer with us. And so in the interim, like the interim city manager, I have made a decision to temporarily promote Tom Kaufman to manager of public works. And Jerry Morgan is the supervisor of the public works staff. And Bill Lemke is also the supervisor of our water distribution group. We believe that this process will work. We are going to be working, I am going to be working very closely with them hands-on. And Brad is also going to be assisting me, especially in the HR area and coordination and organizational area. Where I want the public to absolutely know we do not have enough staff to run public works. We are continually hiring to staff up. In my opinion, today we're at least 4 people short on public works. Those people that are needed every day to fill potholes, to fill cracks, to address curbs and gutters and street issues, to be able to address bricks. All of these things are very difficult to do with all the other activities they do on a daily basis. This has been a great opportunity for me. I'm not going anywhere yet. To learn a lot about government, the fact of how government works. And I think that anybody in the public, it's kind of like when those little kids gets to be principal for a day, or police chief for a day, or mayor for a day. I would love to share some of my experience with folks as the city manager and talk about how quickly my day goes. I'm not complaining at all. It does go by very quickly. I've learned a lot. It's very educational. It really is. Never stop learning. That's very important. I have no other points to bring up at this time. If anybody has any questions of that, I would love to help. Now, in addition to that, we need to talk about the sale of property. So we did conduct a sale last Friday, and the 4th piece of property that was brought before the commission for sale, that was conducted by an auction that took place out at the lake on 195th Street. That auction concluded with a bid of $121 for that piece of property, $121,000. I would have definitely taken it for $121. So I think $121,000 should have been higher, in my opinion. I would have hoped for that, but I think everybody here would have wished that every lot went for $150,000. But it went for what it did. In addition to that, we also have the First Source building in the industrial complex that's for sale, and that is for sale as we speak. It is being offered at only $399,000. Anybody? No, not right now. No, it's not for auction. It's not up for auction. It's MLS. So it's listed through Daily Lions and Lions Realty. So now, any questions? There being none, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
All right, commissioner comments and reports. Lindsay? You weren't expecting this early, were you?
I wasn't expecting this early or to be first. I think I'm good right now. Thank you.
Pete?
Well, I want to expound a little bit out on the KDOT meeting that we had. And it was a very informative meeting, and it confirmed some of the things that we'd found out doing research. And yes, we are responsible for maintenance on 54 and 69, which includes Wall Street. However, we're not responsible for payment. There are programs that we have not applied for that will pay 90% of the work. But it is the city's responsibility to apply for that. Every March, KDOT offers they do a call for projects for all the cities across the state of Kansas. And in March, those projects that the cities have go into the pool. And I think we missed that this year. And they have already committed funds for 2022 and 2023. We did talk to them, Mark. We talked to them about some emergency funds, and that's a possibility. But Jason is checking into that as well. And but that program is our maintenance. The maintenance we do is divided into two kinds. There's normal maintenance, and then there's substantial maintenance. And there are two different items. We get paid $5,000 a year per lane mile for normal maintenance, and that normal maintenance ends with potholes. Anything over a pothole goes into a different classification called substantial. And with that substantial maintenance, there are programs available whereby that the state and federal government or federal government fund 90% of that work. So we could, 2 years ago, I think 2019, we did a section of Wall Street. We milled and overlaid. And that, we paid the full bill. And I think in 2020, we did a section, and we paid the full bill. I think those two amounted to somewhere around $200,000. That was not it was our obligation to maintain or to fix them, but we could have applied for what they call a C-CLIP grant. The state would have paid 90% of those two projects. We have a project on the schedule for Wall Street for next year of a mill and overlay. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000. And at this point, we're too late. We should have had a call for projects in on March of this year. So that's something we're going to have to really take a look into and do. The substantial maintenance is divided into three different categories, and one of those categories is what they call a pavement protection. And that includes mill and overlay, chip seal. They also have a total rebuild program, and that's just what it says, is tear it all out and start over again. That's a different program. And then they have a program called relocation, where they purchase of land is available. But it's a very complicated, very nice, very good program. But I know Jason is familiar with it. He's worked with him before. And so we have that coming up. And we have a section of street out there right now, as Mark was saying, that they were shocked when they saw it. They said that compared to Highway 59 with the windmills, where they've got the same type of major damage, but there is major damage out there. And that's something we're going to have to take care of. And hopefully we can, Jason will get get a report on that and get us some kind of payment to help us on that project. But it's something that we're going to have to do this winter. And so that's just kind of a report on that connecting link agreement.
Thank you, Pete. Randy, do you have anything?
No, not tonight.
Kevin?
Yeah, I had, first of all, we took some flack again on Facebook about the public restrooms at 3rd Street. And I understand have they been taken care of? Okay. So that being said, have we got somebody that's in charge? I mean, who's in charge of that department as far as cleaning that restroom?
So the folks from Buck Run Community Center and their staff are the ones who take care of that park as well as Ellis Park. So not only take care of the park, but they take care of the restrooms. And we've already had a conversation with those individuals. Doug Guns, the parks director, has gone out there and visited with them also. Those bathrooms over there are old and are going to need some loving touches to them, renovations, remodeling, something in the next year to 2 years, I think.
And the only reason I ask that, because last time, this is the second time we faced this. The first time you weren't here. But this is the second time on those same restrooms we faced it. Seth Needham's had to bring it up twice. And, it's past the point of embarrassing as a commissioner that, you get on social media and see, well, here we are again. But typically that's the way things get handled. I mean, I did the same myself with USD 234 on some safety concerns. But as upset as I was at the board members and employees of USD 234, I can't help but be upset at myself for not following this better. And I don't think it is Buck Run's responsibility, because last time when we conquered this, it was the Parks Department that did it. So is that right, Doug? Or are you privy to that information of who used to clean it? Because I'm not thinking it was Buck Run.
I'm not sure who did it before I was in charge of everything.
Yeah, well, I know the last time we brought it up, it was the Parks crew.
Could you ask Doug?
I don't remember if Doug was in charge at the time.
No,
Yeah,
Doug
it
wasn't
before
in
Doug got
charge
here.
last time. But what I'm saying is that's who's been cleaning it. I know for a fact. So I want to make sure we know who's cleaning it, because I don't want for a third time to look on social media and see that we're doing this again, because it's disheartening to not only you guys, but to us, because I thought everything had been handled. Once it's been, made aware of it, I thought we had it handled. So I appreciate you guys going out there and getting it taken care of. And, but I just wanted to make a point to make sure that we've got somebody that's tackling that thing. How often is that cleaned? Once a week? I mean, I know it's going to be getting shut down for the winter, pretty sure. Right. Well, I mean, it would be, I would like to bump that up to 2 times a week if we could, keep an eye on it, because that's what we're doing the porta potty route. We make sure they're taken care of twice a week, so I don't know why our regular restrooms wouldn't be hit twice a week also. You can run through them pretty quick and hose them down or whatever. If that's okay with you, I'm not giving direction. I'm just asking Mark, because I think that's probably a good idea, especially through the summer months, because wasps and stuff will get in there and build nests, and somebody could get hurt really bad. We've had that problem in the portable restrooms. The second thing I was going to talk about tonight, I never even thought about it until I heard it go off, on the 5-minute alarm. Can I ask that we not have the alarm? That was another thing I didn't like about when you're up there talking at the podium at the school board meeting, is there's an obnoxious going off as you're speaking. And
I will say I don't mind it, because I try to pay attention to the speaker, and I lose track of time too. And in order to keep a meeting running, it kind of gives me an idea of when, because we very rarely, if ever, stop someone at 5 minutes. And so it kind of gives me an idea how far along they are because I don't pay attention to the clock when someone's speaking. So I personally like it. I like the fact there's not a big one on the wall.
Can I
like
add that prior to that, the alarm going off, Kevin, it was Diane trying to talk over the person, which I felt like, it was fairly uncomfortable, for our city clerk. I felt like that was, it may be more rude to the person that, like Josh said, we haven't, I don't think, cut anybody off and said, you have to leave. There's conversation or there's questions asked after the fact.
No, it's a lot more lenient than what it used to be before we were here, because before it was 3 minutes and you were asked to sit down. But I'm just trying to make it more user friendly and more comfortable for people at the podium. So we'll go on past that. The other thing was to report. We had a city county departments had a luncheon, and we talked quite a bit about a few things that I wanted to hit on. One of the things that we've been talking about for, I'd say a couple of years, is help with the inmates. The inmates actually, Bobby and Bill and Ben sent the inmates out to help Steve Anthony at the golf course pick up hedge balls the other day, and that got me thinking, why haven't we got them cleaning bricks? And so we talked at that time, and what they're going to do is they're going to have us haul dump truck loads of brick out to their facility to where they can actually step outside the facility and palletize them for us. So that's going to help out a bunch in the future, in order, because if the public works gentlemen have and women have the ability to grab a pallet of bricks and go fix potholes, it's going to make it a lot easier than spending half the day sorting out bricks. They'll be able to categorize them. There's probably 9 different styles of brick in Fort Scott, Kansas. Everything from big Fort Scott bricks that are thick and elongated to short flat bricks. So I think that's going to help a bunch. Another way the city and the county can work together. Mark, also, I seen today, does the city change out our own street lights? I noticed we had a contractor changing street lights today, and I wondered, is our bucket truck working, and why are we third in the bypass? We had traffic shut down. KDOT was out there and shut it down. Are we in charge of the lights on the bypass?
Answers at 3rd Street, so the signal has been out. So we called a gentleman out here to correct that situation. That has been an ongoing situation, and we have not had an electrician come out to correct it. It's not as simple as just pushing a button. There have been street lights out there also. And so I don't know why the street department didn't replace the street lights. I don't know if it's because we don't carry them or what, but I'll get you an answer on why we had those folks do the street lights.
Yeah, I just noticed. Typically, I thought Buzz had handled those in the past. I know Buzz is no longer with us, but I know we've put a lot of money back in the bucket truck to get it going, and I thought that would have been a useful piece of equipment to change out our own lights. So I guess the last thing I had was what I was starting to say earlier was the spending limits. And am I understanding, maybe someone can walk me through this, is there nothing written down? Is there not a policy, or is it an ordinance, or what is it that tells the spending limits, and what are they right now to the city manager, down to department heads, down to employees?
We have what's called a financial policy. It's got more than just your spending limits. It's got all kinds of different things in there. Your cash, how you handle cash, how you
traveling.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things in there. But it's a financial policy. It was not adopted as a resolution or an ordinance. The maximum that the city manager can approve is $9,999.
So before you go any further, that was just raised up a year ago when COVID came around.
It was in 2020.
Yeah, well, that was when COVID came around, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was June 2020, but that was after we did. Deb McCoy actually sat down with me, and we went through other cities and what they do, and kind of reviewed all their policies. And then I put together something, had her review it too. And she felt like it was, at that time, she was one of the ones that kind of brought this to the forefront. And so compared to other cities, we're right in line with what they do of our size.
Right. Okay, so now on down to department heads.
I would need to go get it so that I don't misstate. I don't have that in front of me right now. So but I do know that the max is 10. I think the city manager and finance director is together is 5, and then I think it goes to 1,000 and then 500 for supervisors. But don't quote me on that because I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
But there's certain times that you have to have a purchase order. There are certain times you don't. There's certain times you have to get quotes, verbal, written. There's steps that have to be taken.
Right. I just wanted to get back to we went so many years with it being a $5,000 spending limit with the city manager, and I believe that the reason it was raised up at that time, and you talked about Deb McCoy, but the big sale wasn't Deb McCoy. The big sale was COVID, and it was.
We were already working on it. It was prior to COVID. It just happened to be adopted during COVID.
I
'Cause I
recall
started on that when
vividly
I
sitting at a
started.
meeting when we said we need to do this because what if there's a medical emergency because of this? We need to be able to spend money.
No, that it was done in 2019 is when I started on it, and I brought a first draft in February, I think, and then we did our final draft in June of 2020, if I recall correctly.
I think the meeting that you're talking about, Kevin, was when we said that what was that exactly? Because when we went into when COVID hit, we stated that there would be emergency issues, that we were presented a resolution at that point. Was that right?
Yeah, that was recommended by the league.
That's right.
Thank you.
But the recommendation by the league was that we increase spending limits, or what was that?
You give the authority to the city manager to make decisions in an emergency situation such as that, and then bring it back to the commission.
Which would not be what we currently do in our purchasing policy. Correct. Where it would be the city manager had authority to make those decisions prior to the commission approving it, and we said it was voted no.
And it was because you were not having regular meetings, and by statute, you're required to have them approve expenditures before. And so that's what it was doing. And at the time, the commission felt like it was okay to just meet, whether it was by Zoom or whatever, because we were set up at that time to do that, I think. But this was approved in May of 2020. And an amount of purchase of $100 to $500, a director or supervisor can make the purchase without any other signatories on it. They do not have to get any kind of quotes. They do direct purchase and cost comparisons, or a vendor rotation if it's in town, and the prices should be competitive. From $501 to $1,000, the director can sign off on those purchases without the finance director or the city manager's signature. They are required to have 2 verbal quotes to show comparison. As far as payment, the director can also authorize for payment. From $1,000 to $4,999, the director and finance director or city manager can sign off on those. There's 3 written quotes. For payment, it would have to be the director and finance director or city manager. From $5,000 to $9,999, the finance director and city manager are required to sign off 3 written quotes, and they both have to sign off for payment. $10,000 or more, city commission, advertise sealed bid or proposal invitations. Emergency requires city manager approval.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I appreciate you guys rounding that up. Thank you, Diane, for helping me with that. I don't know what the rest of the commission's feel is on it, but this has been my feel since day one. I don't see a problem with lowering that back down like we had it back before. And nothing against you, Mark. The $5,000 city manager expenditure, I think anything over that, they would be, we'd be willing to come in an emergency type of meeting if there was some sort of expenditure that was over $5,000. So that's what I think. And I guess nobody else thinks that, so no reason to make a motion.
Are you making a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion to go back to the way.
I mean, to change the purchasing policy, we'd have to make a motion and go back through that. I don't know if So I mean, do you have any idea what you want to change them all to? Do you have a
Just
number?
back the way it was.
Do you know how it was before?
Yeah, we had to have a purchase order for everything, so
No.
we'd have to go back to doing that.
Well, I don't want to go back to having a purchase order for everything.
Yeah.
So can we get maybe bring
Even
back
your
next
small
meeting?
tickets.
We'll draw something up and bring it
If you
back
can
next
kind of
meeting.
maybe send out what it used to be, and then we can kind of look it over.
I don't
and
want to
then-
go back to having a purchase order for everything. I didn't think that's the way it was before.
Yeah.
But I know we had a $5,000 city manager limit, and I think we need to get back to that.
Yeah, we had to have a purchase order for even your smallest ticket. If you just ran to Make-O-Waste, you had to have it was a smaller purchase order, but it was, and so we were trying to cut down on cost of having those. It wasn't necessary, it could be a $3.99 purchase.
Well, I feel like we're keeping a lot closer eye on it than was done in the past, so I think that's good. I mean, we had some slip-ups, way back, but we're doing good, but I just want to make sure to continue that way in the future, and I don't see any reason of a $10,000 expenditure without running it through.
So are you fine if we just put on next meeting to review the purchasing policy?
Yep.
All right.
And I'm going to ask for probably a 5-minute or 10-minute executive session with the city commission, city manager, and the city attorney.
Before you do that, I did miss something, Mayor.
Yep.
And that is that on Thursday, November 30th, there's going to be another combined lunch. The combined lunch would be the city and the county. I believe it will be the same location. That meeting was received well by the commissioners that were all in attendance. And I think that there was a good exchange of ideas and information. And so if you're willing to do that, we've been asked by the county to do that, and there was an agreement at that meeting to do it again. And going forward, I would like to see if there's a possibility quarterly, if we would do a public event. And that meeting is public, by the way, but a public event would include the city, the county, 234, and also Fort Scott Community College. Those activities used to take place twice a year. Years ago, I had been the moderator of that. I really think meetings need a meeting manager and or a moderator to keep the flow of the meeting going so people don't get derailed. So, sorry I missed that earlier in my...
Well, in that vein too, Mark, those are just work sessions. So we actually get nothing done. We discuss things, but is there a way that we can say, okay, we form a committee that acts on what we've done and somehow or another make things happen so that at the next meeting or at the next meeting like here, we can act on some of those things. Just having a work session, it just kind of all gets lost.
I think the last meeting we had a couple of things. I mean, you're right, but I think we had a couple of things go through that the county was going to work on and bring back to us.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think as long as we stay on top of it.
And I think that should be a standard that we have something come out of that work session that we're going to accomplish.
So
I agree.
that's good.
Actionable items.
So the agenda can be probably what we talked about last meeting, and then a follow-up, and that would be good.
Yeah, there needs to be a written agenda, and we need to follow it. And then actionable
manager.
items come out of it. I'm sorry?
I said I agree. We kind of spoke about that after the meeting. I think that I think I will start by addressing kind of what Pete said. I think that the flow of how that meeting should go would be, we bring those things as a commission up for conversation and topic and talk, we're talking about what the challenges are, what needs to happen next. Then that goes to our staff to be able to bring that back to the commission meeting as an actionable item, because we can't have a meeting there to make those actionable items move forward. I don't think we need another subcommittee. We just need it brought back to the commission to make that decision, yay or nay. But there's a lot of work that has to be done behind the scenes by the staff too. I would think that as a commission, as a commissioner, I think that if you have something that wants to be brought, you want to be brought to one of those meetings, then that should be brought to the city manager prior, so then you can put together or work with the county and USD 234 as well as the college to put together an agenda. And I think that we do need a moderator.
Well, thank you. I agree with that. I think any meeting needs to have structure to it. and it's not a free-for-all. There should be a time for questions and answers, but also input and direction and conversation and discussion that's logical, methodical, that has actionable items out of it. Susan did take notes from the last meeting, so we will communicate with the county on the topics to be discussed and any actionable items that were brought up at the last meeting. Then we'll see what reports could be made, if I'm using the right term, reports. The conversation about the other one was, it was just a community update with the 4 entities. So it's not a meeting.
Right.
It's a community update where the mayor or whoever he assigns would be there to update the community on the city, the presiding commissioner and so forth. The college president and the 234 could have their superintendent there, or they want to have someone else there in their place. They were very educational, informative. I just believe we got out of the habit of doing them. And I'm not trying to have meetings just for the purpose of meetings, because that's a waste of time and effort, to your point, Pete. So, but I think there was some good discussion. There was conversation about the inmates supporting and/or helping. And so out of that came Brad and myself went out to the the jail, and we had a conversation with the sheriff. And so there are other things coming out of that I think could be very beneficial going forward.
Yeah, we talked about that, everything from that to the exchange of gravel and queries, and it's good to have. Like we said, we need to have it more often than not. So.
Okay. Sorry, Mark, I missed the time on this. Is it set?
It's a lunch, so it starts at noon. It's basically 1 hour. And we shared the lunch with the county. Did we share it?
The
No,
city
we pay
bought
for
it,
it.
the county
They're
paid for
paying.
the facility.
Okay,
We're flipping
yes.
it next time.
So that's what we did, and it was an economical lunch. If you want me to do, we do lunch next time. It's okay to have like water.
No, it was. I think that's well noted. It was sandwiches for Marcia's and water.
Yes, and that's a real positive that Marcia's is back open and
Absolutely.
and still in our community. We need those things. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss that. I apologize.
All right. And I don't have nothing. Bob, do you have anything?
And just so you know, I also going to ask for an executive session following Commissioner Kevin's.
All right. I move the city commission recess in executive session for the purpose of non-elected personnel matters of non-elected personnel exception in KSA setting 54319B1. In the meeting will be the commissioners, the finance director, and the city attorney. Meeting will last
Wait,
8 minutes.
is this his or is this yours?
Yes, Kevin's.
This is Kevin's.
Yeah,
So
did he invite you?
city commission.
And the city manager.
Okay.
Sorry. I thought I did. 8 minutes, good?
Yeah, that's plenty.
All right. Well, we'll go 7 minutes in.
5.
Second.
come out of executive session.
Second.
Okay. Is there a second? Sorry.
You're good.
Do we need a second?
Kevin Allen?
Yes.
Pete Allen?
Yes.
Andy Nichols?
Yes.
Lindsey Watts?
Yes.
Josh Jones?
Yes.
Great. I move that the city commission recess into executive session for the purpose of pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception KSA 754319B2. 10 minutes, city commission, city attorney, city manager, HR, and I anticipate action when we come back out. But all I need to do, we get it all.
Second.
I just brought the documentation that I've received that. It's exactly the document that he presented in the executive session. What time are we out? So we need to come out of executive session and do whatever we're going to do.
I move to come out of executive session.
Second.
Randy Nichols,
Sure.
Lindsay Watts,
Yes.
Pete Allen,
Yes.
Kevin Allen, Josh Jones.
Yes.
I'd like to read a statement. Is that correct, Bob? And I proceed. Our code of ethics states, it is understood that information permitted by statute to be discussed in closed executive recess must remain confidential. Sharing of such information with unauthorized persons at any time is unacceptable. That's quote, end quote. This is not to be taken lightly because violating it weakens the trust of our fellow commissioners. It undermines the confidence of employees and potential business partners to bring us confidential information, and it significantly risks increasing the city's liability and potential or ongoing litigation. Commissioner Pete Allen has violated our ethics code of confidentiality. An email was recently forwarded to me by a concerned citizen. The email they had received was sent to them by a close associate of Commissioner Pete Allen. These emails contained a letter that could only have originated from Commissioner Allen. The original letter had been presented to us in executive session, but the letter also referenced information from a previous executive session. The city manager and legal counsel agree this breaches the principle and purpose of executive session. It potentially voids the attorney-client privilege. It undermines our city employees' expectation of confidential protected communication. Furthermore, it exposes the city to greater risk in any litigation resulting from the issues discussed in the letters. It's reasonable to believe if this was an employee, they would be fired. However, unless Commissioner Pete Allen chooses to resign, the Commission's only course of remediation is public censure. If you, the Commission, choose not to censure Commissioner Allen, then realize that you are sanctioning this behavior, sending a message to all future commissioners that executive session really has no privilege, and you are failing to protect our citizens if the issue in these letters leads to litigations. I move that Commissioner Pete Allen be censured and that the censure statement read. Whereas the city of Fort Scott is required to provide a work environment free from employment discrimination by various state and federal laws, including the Kansas Act Against Discrimination, KSA 44-1001 and what follows, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Age Discrimination Employment Act of 1967, and or the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 as amended. Whereas excellence in performance by elected officials, City of Fort Scott employees, and other appointed officials is the best way to achieve our common goal of ensuring effective governance and quality of life in the City of Fort Scott. A special obligation of the City Commissioners is to set a leadership example. The public expects the best possible behavior from its representatives and employees. Commission members must strive for high standards of behavior and performance to benefit all Fort Scott residents, and whereas in performance of their duties, commissioners are expected to adhere to the provisional law and to adhere to the code of ethics set out as the policy of the City of Fort Scott in ordinance number 3563, which specifically prohibits publicly criticizing individual city employees or officers. Public criticism can be construed in many ways and help to create a hostile work environment. Whereas it has come to the attention of the Commission that a member or members of the city staff have alleged conduct on the part of Commissioner Pete Allen as it regards his interactions in public and private with city staff that may subject the Commissioner and city to possible violations, and whereas such conduct or pattern thereof is inappropriate, And whereas under the statutes cited and above, code of ethics set out as the policy of the city of Fort Scott in ordinance number 3563, the city has certain obligations triggered by allegations made by as a result of the conduct of its officials and or employees. And whereas the commission wishes to express its condemnation of conduct and make clear that all city officials are bound by the applicable laws regarding the conduct of city operations. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the city of Fort Scott, Section 1, the commission finds that based upon the investigation of the complaints lodged in its records, it is more probable than not that Commissioner Pete Allen has engaged in acts prescribed by the employment discrimination laws applicable to the city. These matters have been brought to the attention of Commissioner Pete Allen, who continues to travel down the path of creating a hostile work environment by violation of the code of ethics set out as the policy of the city of Fort Scott in ordinance number 3563 in the state and federal employment laws. Section 2, Commission does not condone such activity and wishes to be very clear that the actions being taken by Commissioner Pete Allen are his actions and do not represent the Fort Scott City Commission. Section 3, the Commissioner Pete Allen is hereby censured and admonished for his conduct as set out herein. Section 4, the Commission calls on Commissioner Pete Allen to refrain from behavior in the future, abide by the restrictions that are imposed upon him in the code of ethics set out as the policy of the city of Fort Scott in ordinance number 3563 and the state and federal employment laws, and to act in a manner which upholds the dignity of his office. So the motion is made in that regard.
Second.
Lindsey Watts,
Yes.
Randy Nichols,
Yes.
Kevin Allen,
No.
Josh Jones.
I just want to say this real quick. Few things. One, Randy, the fact that over the last year you repeatedly said bringing things up in commissioner's time last minute without giving a heads up is something that shouldn't be done. The fact that you've been sitting on this for 2 weeks and have not said nothing to any of us and then bring this to light at the very last minute. In your statement, you said, if we don't accept this, then we'll be holding the city accountable and liable. I don't think you have any authority to say that, first of all. Number two, I asked Mr. McCoy, when I found out about this last week, to get some information from Bob Farmer. It has been almost a week and I have yet to got that. So the fact this is brought here when I asked the lawyer for something and has not came to me, I find disgraceful. And to me, it seems like this was put on. The fact that I asked for stuff and I have not gotten it over the last week, and the fact that Randy repeatedly say, do not bring this up at the last minute, and you're trying to hold us accountable and hold us hostage by saying if we don't accept this, then we're holding the city liable. Once again, you have no authority to say that.
Okay, wait,
Bob, hold on a second. Bob, have you done any investigation in this?
I've seen the material that's been provided.
Have you done any investigation in this?
I've seen the written material that has been provided. Yes, sir.
So your investigation leads to what he says to be true and accurate. You would stake your reputation on it and your job on it.
It's in writing. A lot of it is specs and emails from Commissioner.
You have to bear with me. I got 80. I need you short, concise. You did an investigation on this.
All I've done is read what was provided. A lot of it was
Okay.
text.
So no investigation has been done, Randy, and you're asking for this with no investigation being done. Hold on, no. I let you answer. I'll let you answer. So I will vote no based on all those things that have not been brought to me and the way it's been handled. So no.
Okay, I'm going to comment about that. First off, I don't know what you said that I said the city was being held liable. What I said was that our risk was of
Diane, point of
increased
order. I think we
liability
was
and
voting.
litigation.
Yeah, I mean, the vote.
We was voting, Diane.
okay.
Point of order.
What's the difference between whenever the mayor spoke? and-
Oh, it's just the difference
just
is I
asking.
speak a lot of times, and then Randy said
And so
point of order,
these
point
are
of
the
order,
things
and then we
that-
call it.
Well, I'm saying these are the things, if you would have brought up beforehand, we could have settled. So the fact that you wanted to bring it up last minute, this is how it's going to be handled because it's the way you wanted to do it. So
Because I didn't want to commit a violation of a discussion with various commissioners prior to this.
But you
would
asked
have
us
been-
to act on something like this when Bob just says, I asked him for investigation, he did not say yes, and so anyways, yeah, so I vote no.
Pete,
No.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Mayor,
Can I address one thing first?
Yeah.
I did go pull the open records request for Mr. Hoyt. I did charge him $8.70. He had 34 copies. His charge should have been $6.80. I refunded $1.70 back to him.
Thank you, Diane.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead,
He's
Lindsay.
buying tonight.
Hold on. Lindsay had
And I
one.
did not charge for any time.
Okay.
I took it by 25 cents instead of 20.
Thank you,
I
Diane.
appreciate it. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I can appreciate, Josh, what you're saying, the fact that you didn't have the information in front of you.
I'd second the
make
motion
that-
to adjourn.
Well, go ahead and let her. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Go ahead.
You had a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Lindsay. You're speaking.
I can appreciate what you're saying with not having the information in front of you. My question would be, what more of an investigation, as opposed to seeing an email from a citizen of something that was directly brought to us that has information, very tangible information of what was spoke about in two different. Look, can I finish my question? Two executives, at least two executive sessions, and possibly a third, but at least two executive sessions, and no other information was leaked, and it is coming directly. It was sent from a citizen to another citizen.
Okay, your question was what?
What more information do you need other than a timestamp
I
date?
asked Mark
I'm
McCoy to get information from the city attorney over a week ago and has not been given to
I
me.
understand,
So
and I addressed
that's
that.
why.
Okay, but you're saying is because you have not seen that documentation is what I'm asking, yes or no?
I asked for certain things. that
And
have
you
not
did,
been
and if you
presented
had
to
that
me.
information, would that be a different? If you had time-stamped information sitting in front of you?
I don't know until
Oh,
I see
okay,
it.
okay.
So that's why
And-
I would
and,
not make a judgment until I've seen it.
I
And
will say
asked for
that-
that a week ago and was not presented to me.
Well,
I-
I'm not
sorry.
disagreeing with that, and I'm not telling. That's what I said. I understand what you're saying, and I just wanted that clarification.
I will
Thank
say
you.
that also, when we're told a bunch of stuff and hear all this and processing KA-36592, we're supposed to process all that and make a decision tonight on exactly whatever Randy's reading. He didn't make copies of that for us. We don't have anything that needs to be processed for a week or two or what have you. Or maybe not. Maybe we just vote
Well,
on whatever it is.
Not
If he
prior
reads it,
to
then we-
this, not prior to it being brought to us in an executive session, but definitely. I mean, I can see your point in the having that.
I don't have
information.
any information what he just read off and what he wants to do.
Yep, I understand that.
So if I go out there and blindly vote yes, let's do it, then I'm not being a good steward. I need to process that information,
I understand
and I
your
don't
point.
have a copy of anything.
Can you give us the information? Can you get us the information from your report and your investigation and the information that you found? Can that be provided now that this is an open record issue? Thank you.
Kevin Allen,
To
you're voting to adjourn.
Yes.
Pete Allen.
Yes.
Randy Nichols, Lindsay Watts.
No,
Josh,
I'd like to stay longer.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
I know.
If you don't mind, I'll go over it just for my address also.